The mindset of a really successful farmer has the mindset of taking total ownership and responsibility of where they're at. And you really do need to take responsibility and ownership and accountability of where you're at. There's a story that I will share when I went for my driving license test. I remember this so clearly, like yesterday. I was 17 and I grew up on a farm and I'd been driving since the age of 4, and I had this total confidence that I was going to get my license, and I arrived at the Road and Traffic Authority in Armidale, New South Wales. And the instructor came out and we sat in his little car and we had L plates for learner written all over his car, so I stood right out. And he even had a clutch and a brake on the left-hand side of his car. And off we go. So I'm driving out the gate of the Road and Traffic Authority, and I was a little bit nervous but very excited. I was visualising going to pick up my mates and I was going to take them for a cruise around town. And we're pottering off down the street at about 10 kilometres an hour, and I've got a smile on my face because it's a funny story, but there's a big lesson behind this. And I was doing everything right that I thought was right. So I'm looking in the left rear view mirror and I'm looking in the right rear view mirror and I'm looking in the centre one and I'm positioning myself. And I'm potting off down the road, and next minute I heard this massive BAM! And I hit the brakes, and actually he hit his brakes on his side as well, the instructor. And I turned to him and I said, "What was that?" I looked over the instructor and I said, "What was that?" And he looked back at me and he said, "You've just hit a pedestrian on the pedestrian crossing." True story. And this poor pedestrian's being knocked over, but they were fine. I was going to slowly to hurt them, and they stood up. And I wound my window down and I actually criticised the pedestrian. I said, you should have waited on the side of the road. And then I was furious with the instructor. Actually, first thing I asked the instructor was, "Does this mean I fail?" And the instructor went, "Absolutely, it was an instant fail." And I was furious with the instructor. I was furious with the pedestrian. I stormed into Mum and Dad and I said, "It's your fault. You've taught me about gates and fences, stopping for gates and fences, but you've never mentioned pedestrians. So it was everyone else's fault other than mine." And the second time I went out there as well, and this is another true story. There's 2 traffic lights in Armidale. Maybe there's more now, but there was 2 when I was around. And my mate said to me, "If it's going orange, show confidence. If you're approaching the lights and it goes orange, don't slam on the brakes. Show confidence and continue through the lights." And I'm like 200 metres from the lights, and I hit the accelerator and I got done for breaking a red light and speeding. So that was another interesting one. And cut a long story short, I kept failing, but I kept pointing the fingers. I kept blaming everyone else. It's interesting when you're pointing fingers. You have to really notice how many are pointing back at you. And it wasn't until I actually said to Mum and Dad, I'm not a very good driver. I had to admit it. And they lent me some money, and I got a lesson, and I eventually passed my test. I'm embarrassed to say this, but after 5 failings, I think I was probably the highest failed student in all of Armidale, maybe even Australia. It's very, very embarrassing when I look back on it. But I share this story because it was constantly pointing fingers. It was everyone else's fault other than I wasn't looking at me. And are you really looking at you where you're at in your life? Do you take complete ownership, or do you point fingers? Do you get frustrated with your team or your partner, or is it the drought, or is it the economy, or is it all these other reasons that are stopping you getting what you want out of your life? See, at the end of the day, you're responsible. It's as simple and blunt as that. You have to take responsibility. And pointing fingers and blaming and using excuses and even being in denial, in my case, I'm kidding myself that I was a good driver, is really just victim mentality. And you don't want to be the victim, of course you don't. And it's only when you step above this line, you take responsibility, you have the attitude of it's going to be, it's up to me. It's as simple as that. It's the minute you step into that, it's very empowering. It's a very empowering place to be. And you really want this in your culture, within your business, everyone taking this responsibility to play their best game. And lots of arguing. If you think about it, if you're having an argument with one of your team members or a family member, you're actually arguing about who's the biggest victim. This is what an argument is. You're fighting over why the other person should be feeling more sorry for you. And they're fighting over why you need to feel more sorry for them. It's very, very interesting. And The other one you really want to look out for here is what I call shame. This is where you start beating yourselves up. So you might be doing something on the farm and you might have made a mistake. Let's say you're putting a fence post in and you broke it, right? And then you start saying things to yourself like, gosh, I'm an idiot. Oh, I'm such a loser. If you look at this, it's just a waste of energy. It's a waste of thought. It's not going to get you anywhere. It's focusing on the problem, not on the solution. And it really ultimately is victim mentality again. And we've got to really look at this, because the attitude of a winner, the attitude of a successful sheep farmer, but running a sheep farming business, is someone that doesn't waste energy and time whinging and moaning and blaming the drought. I mean, let's face it, we're in a drought-ridden country. There's really nothing we can do about that. What you can do is manage your attitude and how you respond to the drought. And there's a fantastic story on this when Trevor Hendy arrived at Port Macquarie. And Trevor Hendy is a Ironman, okay, so a big surfing Ironman. And this particular day in Port Macquarie, the ocean was just ghastly high. They were contemplating whether they'll cancel the competition. And it was raining and it was very miserable. And Trevor Hendy was asked by a reporter, what are your thoughts on this environment? And he looked the reporter directly in the eyes and he said, the environment is always perfect. Now, the reporter looked at Trevor really puzzled and said, what do you mean by that? And Trevor looked back in the eyes and he said, look, I can only do the best that I can do. I can't change the environment out there. For me, the environment's perfect, and today, I'm going to give it my absolute best. Do you give it your absolute best, day in, day out, week in, week out, quarter in, quarter out, year in, year out? Or do you let the economy, the drought, your team, whatever's happening on the farm, influence your attitude? Your attitude is everything, how you respond, react to things. And at the end of the day, all you can ask for is to do the best that you can do. And ultimately, the only person that you're competing against is yourself. If you're competing against others, you're going to actually ultimately let yourself down, because you're going to be looking down on people and you're going to be looking up at people, and that's a really painful place to be. The only business that you have to compete and improve on is yours. But it starts with you taking responsibility. It starts with you taking ownership and accountability, not just for your business, but for your life.